Alright guys, we really got to stop having videos like this. Got our new bearings from Midwest Military, and these are old original military stock. Come in cosmoline and wrapped in gauze. And I started cleaning them and they looked pretty good. They're original Chrysler bearings. They even have the Chrysler logo on them. And see if I can find the one. I've cleaned them all, put them back in here. But I found something unfortunate. It's just maybe some tarnish where the cosmoline wasn't covering, but unfortunately you can feel it with your finger. And the other one's as bad or worse. So right there, I don't know if you can, probably can't hear that on camera, but I can catch my finger on it pretty good, especially without gloves on. So let me show you the other one because it's even worse. So that's what that looks like. You can see the tarnish on there. And so I called Midwest Military and talked to John. And he says, no problem, I'll send you another set. Anyway, I'm waiting for those bearings right now. He was good about replacing them that day. He shipped them out that day. And in the meantime, I think what we'll do is we'll install the valves and the springs. And I'm checking the pistons in the bores just to make sure that we're good and that we're gonna have the proper clearance. The machine shop said they were fine, but you know. All right guys, I'll pull this out of here. I've already done this one. So this is a little cryptic on these things as to which way is the front. I finally found a little paint mark. I'm trying to get the light so you can see it. Right there. And inside there's a little paint mark, so I went through there and labeled this as to which side is the front. So the book says you're going to measure 3/4 of an inch from the bottom on thrust face, and then your clearance is 2 10,000ths to 12 10,000ths. So that's a pretty tight fit. Like I said before, the machine shop said these were good. They power homed 5 10,000ths out of here, they said, so basically nothing. And I've got a 15 10,000ths feeler. It's the smallest one I've got. Now I can measure this with a telescoping bore gauge and measure the piston. I don't think that's necessary. Now, I'll give her the old reach around here. I'm trying to roll this up over that feeler gauge, and I'm just feeling. So you got to look at the relief on here for your rod. You see how there's no surface there for anything to ride on. It's just cast. So that's your rod relief. And I'm trying to get this in here about 3/4 of an inch. I just have a very light pull on there. That should be good enough. We've got at least 15 10,000ths clearance. So if you didn't understand what I said in the last clip, is some people get confused with 10,000ths. So 15 10,000ths is actually technically outside limits. You know, that's 3 10,000ths outside limits. So that's what we're working with. Like I say, forgive me bumping the camera here. And this one feels a little tight. It might be going in sideways here. I can't quite see what I'm doing. Okay. This is why we're checking, you know. Okay, so if this is too tight in the bore, what I can do is grab another piston, check it in the bore, and try and get those things moved around, see which one fits best. They shouldn't be necessary. They should be very, very on spec. Not like the old style pistons where they were different sizes of standard. My Studebaker's that way, and they had 3 sizes of standard, and so you would choose the one that fit the bore the best. We're on the thrust side of the engine and just looking for a light pull. In one of my other books, it gives specifications for how many pounds of pull, And I know in my Studebaker book they do it that way, and some of the Chrysler books I've come across for this era do. I don't know why this one doesn't, honestly. I figured it would, but it doesn't. So that's what we're dealing with, and we're just going to continue fitting these. Okay, as you can see, we've checked them all, and we have just a slight tug on this, which tells me we've at least got this much clearance in between there, and that's 15 10,000ths, if you can't see on there. It's pretty faint, but it's a tight 15 10,000ths. So I think we're right at the outer limit of piston fit, you know, which is probably around 12 10,000ths. But that is something that you need to do to verify the machine shop's work, especially if the machine shop's an unknown entity. You know, you've never used them before. Check their work and make sure the guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. You know, everybody has a Friday or a Monday. I know I've had mine. Yes. The next thing I need to do is check the ring end gap on that, but I don't think I want to do that tonight. I think we need to move on to getting the valves in, so I feel like I've accomplished something. After about 15 hours of cleaning, these suckers are ready to install. So we're just trying to get them over that valve lifter, and the cam is facing down, so your heel on the cam is facing up. So if you don't know what the heel is, it's like the widest part of your earlobe. So that's what we're going for here. These can be a bit of a pain, but we'll get them. Sometimes it's easier to go from the bottom. Just don't want to fark up the valve guide here. And the engine stand's rolling away from me. Must be painful having your guts ripped out and reinstalled, I guess. You should measure them for height. And if you have a valve spring tester, you can test the pressure of them. But these were working okay, and the intake and exhaust valves on this particular engine use the same springs. Alright, I got a little light on the situation for you. I was hesitant to use that light because it's been blowing out my ISO, but we're going to try it anyway and see if we can show you what's going on here. See, not too bad. And we'll just go along and do these, and then we're going to have the valve spring compressor to lift those up and put the locks in, and that can be kind of a pain sometimes too. But, you know, it is what it is. Just gonna push on that follower. See, it's still not too bad to rotate the cam over, because the spring pressure is not going to be what it is when they're locked to the valves. So that's the thing you got to remember, is you've got all this slop in here. See how this moves up and down so much? So it's really not too bad to turn the cam over by hand. I couldn't find that other CRC stuff. So now we're using Lubriplate number 105. What we're trying to do here is just make sure we don't run anything dry, obviously. Look at that valve float down. Oh, now it's going to make me look like an idiot. There it goes. Okay. There we go. Alright, boys and girls. I've got this in the best possible filming position I can get it in. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but these locks here, it's kind of hard to see while it's in a black glove, but they're just a wedge, and they are very fiddly. So you want to have those on there, and then, in fact, I think what I'm going to do, what I have done in the past, is just put a little bit of grease inside of them, and then they stay on and don't fall down and release the valve. While you've got your fingers in the finger guillotine here, because I don't want to have my fingers in there any longer than possible. Okay, see, that's still a little loosey-goosey on there, but this one has the advantage of being able to kind of let that down all at once. There we go. Alright, that's one in. And you can see our gap in between here is quite significant. So that's supposed to be, I think, 10 thousandths cold. Now, these can be kind of a pain in the butt to set these valves, because once you've got the intake and exhaust manifold on here, it basically covers most of this. And in this particular car, you can't even take off the inner fender. If you've got big 6'4" meat hooks like I do, this is very difficult. My left hand doesn't work very well either for some reason. My thumb likes to lock up on me, so that makes this even harder. Alright, had to go grab the secret weapon here. This little magnet. That's very helpful. It's not necessarily so helpful for installing these though, because it likes to pull it off while you're trying to install it. So I'll show you. See how it wants to just pull that right back off? But if you got to retrieve them, then it's nice. I like to kind of nest them in there a little bit. Make sure that they're not going to pop off, because they will do it. Alright. That louver plate helps that slide down too, so it's a little easier to make sure that that washer thing, where's the one I just did? This one. Make sure that washer thing, this piece here on the bottom, actually slides down over there, because they'll get hung up on there. Alright, well, you guys have probably seen enough of this, so we're going to high speed, and we'll cut you back in when we've got all these done. And of course we're going to do the exact same thing on the exhaust valves. And we'll be all done with this part of the assembly. Then once I get bearings in, we can actually fit pistons, rings. Well, we can do the rings now, we can gap them. Alright guys, I'll put some light on the situation here. Got them all installed, including the exhaust valves. The overhead. So that is done. And next we're going to move on to setting the valve clearances. And the valve clearances have to be set twice. They've got to be set when it's cold. Then once the engine's warmed up, then you set them hot. Alright guys, it's like lemony snickets in here. We're having a series of unfortunate events. Got the new bearings from Midwest today. Unfortunately, these are not going to work. This is the best one. That one's okay. And look at this. I don't know if you can see this on camera. I'm going to try and get it close, but this here, I don't know what happened to this bearing, but that's raised up like there's burrs. And I don't know if that's denting, corrosion, or what it is. And that's not even the worst one. Some of these other bearings are much worse. I'm hoping they'll replace them. I mean, I can't use these. I can't put these in a customer's vehicle, but look at that. This is another one that looks like it's all banged up or something. Try and get this close to the camera. These GoPros aren't very good at focusing. But yeah, trying to show you. So you've got the upper side and the lower side, then I drop them. And long story short, those are not going to work for us. So I'll be waiting to see what they do for a replacement. I hate to make him have to keep shipping new bearings out, but I think they just didn't get checked well enough before they left. So there's nothing I can do about that. Alright guys, we're in the middle of setting valves here. So this is pretty straightforward. You're basically going to stick your feeler in between the bottom of the valve and the top of the tappet here. And get this set. Our clearance right now is 14 thousandths cold for the intake and exhaust. And then they're a little different when it gets warmed up. So when we start this on the stand and get it warmed up, we'll set those with the hot clearances. I'm not going to show you all of this because it's repetitive and boring, but I'll show you enough of it that you get the gist. Clearly I over tightened that initially, so I mean you're still okay. This still rotates freely, but it's certainly not 14 thousandths. Okay, that's it right there. Now one thing I didn't mention is I got underneath the engine and looked to make sure that that cam heel was in the upright position. You don't want to be on the loading or unloading side of the cam lobe. You want to have that cam all the way nose down. So the easiest way for me to do this now is to actually look underneath there. Yeah. Alright, so I'm just going to watch over here on the cam follower and wait until it slacks off. Right now it looks like both of the valves are closed, so we're just going to go underneath here and make sure that that is in the position that we want it for adjusting the valve. Alright, I'm going to show you in here. This is the first cam lobe right there. You can see it's totally nose down completely. We're on the heel of the cam, and if you look up in there carefully, I'm not going to try not to bump the camera. I'm not going to touch that, but I'm just going to point at it. That's the cam follower right there. So we're going to rotate this cam over so that we're on the heel instead of the loading ramp or unloading ramp, as it were. Okay, and you can kind of feel it click over with the valve springs too. So now that's nose down. That's right where we should be. All right, we're back up on this intake valve, and we're going to adjust this. Like I say, the clearances are the same when it's cold, according to the book. So we're just going to adjust these. These kind of suck to do because they're self-locking, so they can be kind of a pain. I'll move it back over here. Maybe you can see a little better. Now I'm just watching in between here. Try and not overdo it like I did on the last one, because then you gotta just back it back off. All it's gonna do is push the valve up. It's not gonna hurt anything. Okay, we're getting close. Oops. If I put the right wrench on there now, wouldn't it? So on these 218s, 230s, bottom is 1/2 inch and the lock is 7/16, just in case you're building one of these. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of those off camera or high speed or whatever the hell I decide to do here. But we've got 10 more to do, and that's probably boring. I don't know if this is supposed to be instructional, but you know, you get the idea on how to do it. I had to learn how to do all this stuff by reading the books, trying it, and screwing stuff up. So this is how you do it with these solid tappet cams and lifters or cam followers. And you don't have to do this on hydraulic ones, thank goodness. But the old ones, you had to do this occasionally. Otherwise, you start to get a lot of clatter. All right, guys, all the valve clearances are set. Trying to get you a better view with the light here. So this is just cold valve clearance, and that's not too big of a deal. Look at Uni over here grinning. She's happy. So onward and upward. When we get some bearings in here, we can go ahead and start assembling the rest of the rotating assembly, meaning the crank and stuff. Let's see if I can grab this for you. We do have this oogie bugger to clean up. Now, the reason we've got this one to do is because the original one that came with this engine, I don't know why, but this section down here wouldn't go in there properly. It would go in and just kind of sit there and wobble around, and then it would fall out while the engine was running. So this one seems to fit a lot better. So we'll try it. I thought I had one that was painted in red oxide with the stuff we got with this engine, but I don't know if that even came with this engine or not. But regardless, we'll clean this up, make sure it's clean inside and out, because this is your oil filler tube, and then your breather goes on this, and we don't want any of this crap getting down inside the engine. And like I say, this one fits better, so we'll just clean this one up, repaint it, and we'll give him a different one, and we'll put the other one on the shelf for another build.